Hello everyone, this is Damon with PickSnub Software. For this video, I'm going to be going over EasyTeam Builder 3. When installed, this will be under the Plugins menu for CC 2021 or higher. You can put this anywhere you want in Photoshop. I like to dock it right inside the Photoshop workspace into its own column. You'll need to select a folder of cutouts. And then also, I'm going to show you here, if I hit Build Team right now, it's not going to build the team because it says the document needs to have a layer named EasyTeam. All that means is exactly what it says. You need to have a layer called EasyTeam. It's all capitals and no spaces. And the reason why is it knows where to build the team based on where it finds that layer. In this case, we have a single layer document. But in the case where you have a multi-layered template with graphics and text and a background, it needs to know where to build the team. So it's going to look for that layer, and wherever you have that layer within the multi-layer document, it will build it there. For these settings, I'm going to discuss these in more details in the next few videos, so watch those as well. But for this, I'm just going to demonstrate with the default settings. Now when you hit Build Team, it's going to pop you up a menu where you can select how many per row. If there's less than 300 images in your folder, it's going to autofill this out, but you don't have to use the numbers it gives. You don't even have to use the same number of rows. You could put these all into 2 or 3 rows if you wanted to. It's just up to you. But what you do need to make sure is that the number of images in the cutouts folder equals the number of images that you are assigning, and it will not let you build it until those are equal. I'm going to set this back to and what it was for the default. Now you see now that the number doesn't equal, so as you update each of these, it automatically calculates. Okay, now that they're equal, I'm just going to hit continue. Alright, the team has finished building. And just using the default settings, like I did here, it puts the shortest players in the bottom row, the tallest players in the top row, and each row up is the next size group up. With the exception in this example, you see that the coaches are shorter and they're on the top. And the reason why is because I forced that with the file naming. So let me show you here. If you use, let me find the folder. There we go. If you use the word top or bottom, it's going to force those images to the top or the bottom, and it's all caps. And the placement of those will be alphanumeric. So if you just put top 1, top 2, top 3, you see that it just puts them in order that they're named. If you have more than 10, make sure to use a leading 0 that way. Alphanumerically, it'll sort correctly. Or if you have more than 9, that is, make sure to use the leading 0. In any case, that's how it organizes those by default. It's going to put everything into a group called EasyTeam Finished. And then each row is also in its own group. And each individual player is on their own layer. Now, a question that's come up a lot, so I want to cover it in this video, is that both the rows and the players do not appear in the same order that you see them visually. So, for example, the rows, row 1 is the bottom row, but it appears on the top in the layer panel. And the reason why is because the layer panel, the way Photoshop works, this is how it stacks images for what's in front of the others. So, for example, if I was to place row 5 on the top to match it visually how we see it, in the image with 5 being on top, you see that that's now in front of everything else because it's on top in the layer structure. So row 5 has to be in the back behind the other images, so that's why it's on the bottom in the layer panel. And the same thing with the individual images. You see this is row 1, the bottom row here. It goes player 1, then 3, then 2, then 5. It doesn't go 1 through 12 in order left to right. Now this number where it says player 1, that is your left player. Player 3 is the third position over. But the reason why it doesn't go 1 through 12 at least with the default settings, is because it randomizes the overlap. So you see where the shoulder pads overlap here. You don't want those to go 1 through 12, because if you did that, the left image would be in front of the next image, which would be in front of the next image. That wouldn't look natural. Now you do have that option actually for the overlap. You can select left in front, and that will always place the left image in front of the image to the right in the cases where they overlap. I'm going to go over all these settings in a lot more detail, so don't worry about that too much in this video. But just know that that's why you don't see everything in the order that they appear on the screen. It is all because of how they need to overlap. And so what's in front and what's behind. You can also move things around, of course. Now, the easiest way to do that is if you have the select tool, make sure auto select is on. If auto select is on, wherever you click, it's going to move that particular image. So for instance, we could go into all these coaches and artificially make them a little bit taller so they don't feel so short next to these tall kids in back. These coaches were probably 5'10", and this kid here is, I don't know, probably 6'7", 6'8". So with the default settings of it organizing by height, but then forcing coaches to the top row, you're putting these shorter coaches with the taller players. So that's why there's the height mismatch. There's also some other settings you can do to compensate for how all of this works. So make sure to watch the other videos, 'cause I'm going to be discussing each one of these settings in its own video. So anyways, thanks for watching, and if you're interested at all in Easy Team Builder, please be sure to visit our website. That is pixnub.com.